And I'm like super excited about that. And I can see now like this, it was this bumpy road, right? And it took me on this path, and I see this bigger picture now on this platform and where it could possibly take me. So I've changed it, I've shifted and changed my thought process. Like when something goes bad, it's now thank you. Thank you for this, for not working out, because I moved forward here and it's working out. So
great attitude. Oh my gosh. If we could bottle that attitude for everybody, I want everybody to have that, a little bit of that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Now, to be honest with you, like I have that attitude, but there's times where I have that breakdown in the shower or whatever.
Hello, you are listening to the Late Bloomer Living podcast, where we are reimagining and redefining what it means to be in midlife, where we are gathering energy, momentum, and excitement for our next chapter via candid conversations with other midlifers about their own pivots, pitfalls, and triumphs. I'm Yvonne Marchese, your host, and I'm so happy you're here. Hello, my friend. I have such a treat for you today. I'm so excited. Consider this an early, special holiday edition of Late Bloomer Living. We are going back in time to that golden era called the 1980s. Many months ago, I was scrolling through Instagram and I happened upon a video that made me stop my scroll. I was so tickled because what I was looking at was funny and completely unique. It was a spot-on satirical throwback to the 1980s soap operas of my youth, and it was called Small Town Drama. It had one actress wearing ridiculous wigs playing every character, women, men, children, you name it. And it was done in an over-the-top style with a green screen background setting the scene for a small town convenience store. Oh my gosh, I laughed so hard. I instantly went to check to see if there were more videos, and of course there were. So I ended up watching several of them to catch up on the storyline, and then joined the hundreds of thousands of people who were waiting for the next installment. So my guest today is Carmen Quintanilla Gollihar. She is the video creator of the Small Town Drama series, which is the first ever social media soap opera series with over 1 million followers on TikTok. And she can now also be found on YouTube and Instagram, where I found her. She also creates a variety of other 80s and 90s nostalgia skits, but her most popular series is the Small Town Drama. Now, Carmen wasn't always a video creator. First of all, she's a wife and a mom to 5 kids. And before she started creating videos, she was a teacher and a librarian in the Texas school system with latent dreams of becoming an actress. Oh my gosh, I can't wait for you to hear her story. So let's dive right in. And if you want to hear us get really silly, you got to stick around to the end of the episode. Okay, without further ado, here's Carmen Quintanilla Gollihar. Let's go. Hey, Carmen. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I am so excited to have you here today. Thank you. So I found you on Instagram. I don't know how long ago. And, you popped up in Reels and there you were. And I was like, what the heck is this? This is so funny. It must have been a Small Town Drama episode. I was looking through I was prepping for this interview today, and I was looking at like the different things that you're doing on your Instagram feed. So I love this whole 80s throwback feel to it. And then you've got these different things that you do. So you've got your Small Town Drama, which is the soap opera, which is hilarious. And you play all the characters and you've got all the wigs for all the characters and green screen background with, I just don't even know how to do all this. And then you've got your memorabilia and your 80s throwbacks. How do you know if something was super fancy in the 80s? That totally messes up.
I grew up in a high school that was super fancy. Like we had some super fancy kids, or super, how do you know when a kid's super rich? I love when you do those episodes.
Yeah.
And I love Nikki at Blockbuster because she's always so kind of dour.
She's at Totally Rad Video.
Totally Rad Video, right. It's not
Blockbuster.
right. So
Yeah.
Totally Rad Video, hilarious. All the things that we had to go through to rent a video back in the 80s. It was hilarious.
Yeah, a blood sample, basically.
And then your Carmen and Billy series, you know, you've just got all these little things, and you play all the characters, and it's funny, and there's something comforting about it because I grew up in that era. I mean, I'm older than you, but the 80s, I was in high school in the 80s. I'm going to guess you might have been in junior high.
Yeah, I was in junior high.
Right.
Yeah.
So
you can tell we're Gen X because we say junior high, right? Now it's middle school. We're like, no, we went to junior high.
Right. Oh my gosh. So I'm excited to talk to you because, especially finding out that you were a teacher and that you started doing this, and I guess you were doing it for fun. I don't, what prompted you to start doing these video series?
I think, like a lot of people, it was the pandemic, right? That started us even on getting on TikTok. And
you started on TikTok, actually, right? I
started yes.
Right.
TikTok. Instagram had been around a while, and I had a Facebook, and then I got TikTok, and I couldn't figure out Instagram for the life of me, or I didn't want to take the time to do it at that point. But I started making videos on TikTok, and I started doing some original content, which at the time was not, looked highly upon. Everybody was doing the lip syncing and stuff and dancing. And I was like, I am not going to do that. I mean, if you do, that's great, but I didn't want to do it. So I kind of started doing lip syncing, and then I got tired of that. And so I started doing my own thing, and I started making these skits, which is something that I really love to do. And I haven't stopped since then.
Gosh, they are so much fun. They are so much fun. And you've got the green screen. How do you get those photo backgrounds for the green screen? Like, they're so spot on. Like, you've got the video store, you've got one of your small town drama, Miss Sherry runs a convenience store, and you've got those picture of the potato chips behind the people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the detail that you put into this is.
I try to look for some like royalty-free pictures and stuff. And I actually want to design my own version now. And now that I have, I would think, since I'm doing this full time now, I have all this time, but I don't. I run out of time for everything. And it's like, oh my God, how was I doing this and working full time?
But we haven't even mentioned you have 5 kids.
And I have 5 kids, yes.
And you have 5 kids.
Yeah.
I am so amazed at what you're able to do. Just incredible. When you were teaching, what grade were you teaching?
So I used to teach middle school. I taught elementary, middle school. Then I became a school librarian for elementary. Then I was an instructional coach for reading. Then I went back to the library because I was like, okay, I want it to be easier. Instructional coaching took a lot of my time. And so I went back to the library so that I could do that and these videos. And then I just decided, you know what, I'm going to try to do this 100%. And I quit in the summer. I resigned, and I have been doing this ever since.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. At what point did you, what was the thing that made you go, oh, I could do this full time? Was there a turning point in your viewership, or what happened?
My viewership, when I hit 1 million, I was like, okay, I started thinking about doing this full time. And then I decided to go into Instagram, and I started gaining viewers there. And then I went into Facebook and I said, you know what? I think I can make this work. It's not easy. It's a struggle, right? But I think that's what it was. I was like, okay, I'm now on these other platforms, and I need to see where I can take this. And I did a lot over the summer. We had the summer off, and I had a lot of time to reflect about things. And I was not at that point, I pictured myself, I do a lot of picturing in my head. I pictured myself going back into work, and I was just miserable, like thinking about that. And then I pictured myself doing this, and this made me smile. This didn't make me smile anymore. And I decided I had to do it.
I love that answer. And I hope everybody heard that answer. I mean, really heard it, because that is huge. Like we get into life, I think, and doing the thing that at some point in life, it seemed like the right thing to do. And maybe it was at that point. And then, I think midlife is an opportunity to reevaluate. I think so often part of what's called the midlife crisis is actually just natural evolution. And sometimes it means that what fit before doesn't fit anymore. Or maybe it never fit and we just feel stuck in it and don't feel the power to step outside of it. And I admire that you have taken that step. It's incredible.
One of the things that there's this saying, and I'm going to chop it up or whatever. It's God will make you feel uncomfortable to make you move. Right. Mm-hmm. So for the past few years, I loved my job, and I loved the people that I work with. And over the past couple of years, it wasn't like that anymore. It changed. Education changed. Everybody knows especially after the pandemic, what it turned into. And so I was at the one job that I had been at forever, and things changed, and I got uncomfortable, and I reflected on that. And I said, I'm going to go back into the library closer to home. Maybe that will help me. And I did that. And then I got there, and things were worse. I was 45, 46 at the time when 45 when I started, 46 now. And it was tough for me to make that shift to a new school from somewhere that I had been for so long. And I was just miserable. And I made this shift, and I'm a totally different person from where I was last year. So I think I made the right decision.
I think you did. I think you did. And I'll say that for me, I can relate to that in starting the podcast. It took me 2 years to decide to actually do the podcast. It was an idea niggling in the back of my head for a couple of years, but I didn't feel like I had time or money or energy to divert, because I have a couple of kids, not 5, but a couple of kids, and feel plenty busy with that on top of a photography business that I've been trying to grow. And I was like, no, I got to stay focused, Yvonne, stay focused. And finally it wouldn't leave me alone. And I, right before the pandemic, I made the decision to actually do it. And then the pandemic is actually what helped me speed up the process, because all of a sudden I couldn't do photography gigs, and I had the time to learn how to produce a podcast, how to build a website, how to do all the parts. And it has changed my life completely. The podcast fills my heart, being able to have conversations and meet somebody like you. And it keeps fueling my fire to keep wanting to explore what's next as I get older and not settle,
Right. I think that's, not settling. As we get older, you don't want to settle anymore. You want to do what fills your heart. And we think with our head, right? And it's always follow your heart. And it's hard to do. It's hard to follow your heart, because there's fear when you follow your heart. Mm-hmm. And then once you let that fear go, and you're just like, it's going to work out. I had this professor when I went to get my master's for administration in education. His thing was like, it'll all work out. It'll all work out. And we would be stressed and whatever. And it did. It all worked out. No matter what, it all worked out. So that's another thing that I keep in my head. It's all going to work out. It might not be the smoothest, road, but it will work out.
Yeah. And it may not look like what you thought you wanted in the beginning either. And I think about my worries, and like you said, it all works out. And in ways that I could never have seen, things have worked out always. And every time I step into doing something that doesn't have a clear outcome, but I step into doing it with some faith, and as long as it's something I want, somehow things do work out.
It sure does. I've been on TikTok for like a couple of years, and you go through ups and downs in social media. And right now on TikTok, it's a little down, right? So one of the things that did is push me in another direction. So I decided I'm going to try YouTube, right? And I started maybe 8 months ago on YouTube, and I posted a few videos, and I just posted like one a month or whatever. And I just I wasn't into YouTube because I was all in here. And then I decided maybe last month, you know what, I'm going to be consistent, and I'm going to go ahead and post daily, right? Because things aren't working out over here. I need to push myself somewhere else. So I did that, and I grew I'm over 100,000 subscribers. So it took me, months to get to 1,000. And then all of a sudden I started with consistency, posting, building a community over there. I'm now verified over there within this short time.
Wow.
When something, and that's what I see now, when something's not working in one place, I move somewhere else, or I'm going to reinvent myself on TikTok. So that's one of the other things that I'm working on. So because this was down, which I'm thankful that TikTok was down for me, it made me move over here at YouTube, where I'm like, the success is growing on YouTube, and I'm like super excited about that. And I can see now, like, it was this bumpy road, right? And it took me on this path, and I see this bigger picture now on this platform and where it could possibly take me. So I've shifted and changed my thought process. Like, when something goes bad, it's now thank you for this, for not working out, because I moved forward here and it's working out, so
Great. Attitude. Oh my gosh. If we could bottle that attitude for everybody, I want everybody to have that, a little bit of that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Now, to be honest with you, like, I have that attitude, but there's times where I have that breakdown in the shower or whatever,
Sure.
I have
Welcome
to
to
allow
humanity,
myself
right?
that, allow myself that craziness. And, I'll be in the house and I'll be like walking around, and, the kids are like, don't bother her. Something's wrong on one of the platforms or something, and then I'm back to normal, and then I start thinking, I've created this vision board on Google Drive for myself with the greatest sayings that I find on Facebook or Instagram, and I post them in there, place them in there. And when I'm feeling down, I go back and I look at them. I can pull them up on my phone. I can pull them up on my iPad, on my computer. And I just reflect on those. And I'm like, it's all going to work out. This is all for a reason that this is happening. So,
yeah. Fantastic. So I have a question for you.
Yes.
Oh God, I have so many questions. So where did the obsession with the 80s memorabilia, when did it start? Why did it start? Did you find one thing that then led you to, because you've got a whole collection of memorabilia, right?
I have a whole collection. You can see some of the stuff. This is just part of one wall that's behind me.
So for people who aren't watching it, because this is a podcast, for people who aren't looking at what I'm looking at, I see a Doritos bag behind you. Is that an 80s Dorito bag? I see Aquanet.
Yes. And then I did a Primo commercial yesterday, a fake Primo commercial. So I have that. And then I've got my Trapper Keepers up there, like the original Trapper Keepers, and some my caboodles. Actually, somebody gave me this Rainbow Bright because I have a video that I did of my nostalgia room tour. And a lot of people like, kept asking, do you have Rainbow Bright? Do you have, and I was like, no. So somebody sent me, got me, they're like, I saw in your comments that you didn't have one, so I got you one. I was like, oh, so sweet.
So this is when you really know you've made it, Carmen, is when people start just sending you things just because they love what you're doing so much. That's amazing. And is that Miss Loretta's wig I see hanging on the shelf?
That is Miss Loretta's wig. In front of me, which is behind this computer, I have all my other wigs.
Do you have a wall of wigs?
I have a bunch of wig stands, and it's just all on wig stands. And I at one point, right, I had somebody who would help me come clean the house, and I was like, I wonder what she thinks when she sees all these wigs. Like, this lady's crazy.
So where did it start? What started this?
I want to say it started. I made a video, and I had some things. I had some of this stuff here, but it was all in boxes. And so I started pulling things out, and that's what started it. And then I just continued to do more videos. My husband found his old, what do you call it? Walkman. And I did a video with that, and just anything that we could find that we pulled out and started using.
I love your old phones. How many old, like, novelty 80s landline phones do you have?
Oh my gosh, I have the Lips phone, right, which was made popular by Full House. The hamburger phone, somebody sent me a hamburger phone. I've got Mickey Mouse, Garfield, and I have a few others that are just like a regular, like, older phone. And then I have the light up phone from the 90s, because I remember having a light up phone, and that was great because you could turn off the ringer and you would see it light up and you knew it was ringing. So I would go turn off my parents' ringer in their bedroom and then just have mine, because I knew my friends would be calling like super late at night.
That's a great, oh my gosh, that's so funny. That takes me right in. I mean, hilarious. The things we do as teenagers, right? So there's another question that I have for you. The small town drama episode, that part of what you do as part of your videos, there's so many soap opera tropes that you have totally nailed. I will say my mom and grandma were big fans of Days of Our Lives. And that's come up on your series. I've seen that at least once with some reference to Bo and Hope. And I watched it with them, and man, soap operas they were such a powerful thing at that point in time. And you have taken it to like this sublime satirical point with what you're doing. Playing all the characters. You must be having so much fun. Tell me a little bit about the background of soap operas and how that, like, how deep into your DNA is that? Like, where'd that come from in your life?
My gosh, growing up, I loved soap operas, daytime and nighttime soap operas. I got to see my daytime soap operas, especially in the summer. And that was super fun. I was hooked as a child. Even in college, like in the 90s, Bo and Hope, they were my favorite couple. I think at one point she was kidnapped and she was taken to an island far away, and he married Billy and this and that. And I dropped a class to see this, play out. So I grew up with my daytime soaps. My nighttime soaps, I lived for Dallas, Dynasty, Knots Landing, Falcon Crest, all of it. I loved it. And one of the characters, or two of the characters actually in my soap opera, right? One of them is named Bobby. And that was inspired from, of course, Dallas.
Dallas, right.
And then I eventually came up with the name, which is his brother-in-law, which is Junior, which is JR.
JR.
Right? So I try to incorporate little things so that people who are actually from our time are can oh my gosh, this is from this. And then I have a new character, and she's a judge, and her last name is Demira. So that's from
And she is wicked.
She's
wicked.
She is wicked. She doesn't have a first name, but people are asked, is her name Stephanie? So her name's going to be Stephanie Demira, because of course of the infamous Stefano, right? So I try to bring in those little pieces, just for people who are like, oh my gosh.
Is it Rick? Is Rick Rick Hasselhoff? Is that his last name?
Yeah, I came up with Rick Hasselhoff. So the character of Rick, before I even started Small Town Drama, I got the inspiration for him from Three's Company, from Jack and Larry Dallas, right? Because you know how there were these like players and loved the game, especially Larry. So I created him, you know, from these two characters because I loved watching Three's Company as a kid. A lot of 80s inspiration, whether it's a soap opera or a sitcom. Yeah.
Okay, I have a reveal for you. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So are you on a laptop? Question is my question.
I'm on a laptop.
Okay, take your laptop and pull it down a little bit because I see your shirt. I've seen tips of bits of your. Okay, yes. So because I might pull this video, I have a reveal for you.
Oh, you've got the shirt.
Well, hello. Well, hey there, darling.
I love it.
I wasn't sure when I was going to reveal that to you. I didn't want to do it right away and make you be like, oh my gosh, this girl is fangirling all over me.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. Send me a picture because I want to put it on my Instagram for people who have merch.
I have an idea what I'm going to do for you. So I love this shirt. Well, it says, well, hey there, darling, which is what Miss Sherry says, right? Whenever anybody comes into her convenience store. Just hilarious. And I saw the video that you did when you first, I think it must have been when you first came out with your shirts. And it was, you know, oh gosh, what's her name? The Bobby's sister, Caroline. So Caroline comes in and she's wearing the shirt that says, tell your daddy I said hi. And you as Miss Sherry are wearing the well, hello there, darling shirt. And they have this whole cat fight kind of exchange.
They hate each other.
They hate each other. And then there's the moment where she's like, but that is a nice shirt you wear. And Sherry says that to Caroline, and Caroline's like, oh, well, thank you very much. And then you did this funny thing in the video where you like did this little booby kind of shake with like up to the camera. And it was like the most, I'm going to tell you, it was the most shameless plug of merchandise. The funniest, most genius way.
It was about making your boobs look perky in this shirt, and people were just like, oh my God.
It was hilarious. I was like, I'm ordering that shirt. I got to support this woman because that was just a genius way to introduce merchandise for what you're doing. And you need to be supported for what you're doing because I can tell how much work it is.
Yeah. What's crazy is it is a lot of work and it doesn't feel like work. Like I work harder than I've ever worked before. And even when I was working as an instructional coach, getting to work, you know, at 7 o'clock, leaving at 6 o'clock, this is still more than that, but it doesn't feel like it. And I love it, you know, from writing to the acting, the costuming, I mean, everything, the editing, I just love what I do. Not to say that it's not stressful. You're a one-woman
show, right?
I'm a one-woman show.
All you?
Yeah, I play the male characters, the female characters, the kid characters, the teen characters, the whole.
You write, you do your own costuming, your backgrounds, your editing, all of it, right? Yeah. That is, as somebody who has dipped her toes into doing reels, I can tell you how long it takes me to do a simple, tiny little reel and get it to where I like it. And I'm just doing like little silly things. I can't imagine the amount of time that goes into prepping this. I feel like you, as a teacher, I think teachers and people who are who have lawyer training, this is something I've noticed about those two professions, is that there's such a high level of organization skill that goes into those professions of just being able, like time management. And I feel like, do you feel like that, am I on target? Has that served you like that part of your background? Has it served you going into what you're doing?
It does, like, especially being a teacher. I've taught at different places where there's high budget, low budget, always low budget, right? And we make it work with what we have. And I've made everything work with what I have. And we're always like on the go, go, go. One of the things though, is I am the worst procrastinator, like nobody's business. And I have an attention span of a gnat.
You're giving me hope, Carmen. You're giving me hope.
It is like, I will be working on something. I'll be writing a script and then I'm like, oh, I got a message and I've got to answer this. And I'm back and forth. This has been my whole life, right? And I've always thought this is wrong. Like it works for me. And this is what I do. And I have now learned to accept the way that I work. So I don't get as stressed anymore when I'm down to the wire and down to the last minute. Cause like when I put on the show, like for the small town drama, it comes out every Monday and Thursday. I switch the days. I shoot the show that day and put it out the same day because that's my life. Everything is at the last minute. And
wow.
that's how I fuel myself. And it works for me.
Now, when you and I talked, we had like a get to know you call and we talked and you mentioned that you had you wanted to be an actress in your youth, right?
Yes.
And so here you are, you've come back and you are acting, you've created your own universe to play in. Can you tell me a little bit about what young Carmen thought being an actress would look like and maybe what diverted you from doing that when you were younger?
And when I was younger, I had the worst I had low self-esteem, like about myself. And this is just, I let that deter me from things. Anything anybody said or anything I took to heart. Like I always took that to heart. And I'm always deep in my head, whether it's good or whether it's bad. And I would let anything that was bad, like just overshadow, like just anything else. So when I was younger and I wanted to act, I didn't let myself because I didn't think I was good enough, pretty enough, skinny enough, this, that, or whatever. So I went another way and I went safe. And the safe thing for me, and I wanted to be a teacher growing up. That was one of the things that I wanted to be. And as a kid, I used to volunteer in the library, do this and that. So I thought when I made it to the library, I had hit it big. I had done, hit my dreams and I had shoved all the other things down about the acting, right? Because I was like, it's not going to happen. I let myself do that. And my friends were always like, you're so funny, you're so this, you're so that. Like, why don't you do this? So about 2007, 2006 or so, I decided that I was going to take a shot at it again. And I just started doing some things. And I was like, what was that TV show, Friday Night Lights? I did a little bit of stuff like that, but just as an extra. But I would always get chosen to be up in front of the camera for some reason, right? And I was like, oh man, I love this. And then I started doing this in town. They had this casting call for this little independent movie. And this person who was the director was this horrible, mean woman who just was horrible. And she said something to me and I said, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm not built for this. Then I decided that I wanted to do this acting school in New York, which was for film. It was a New York Film Academy. And I had paid for it and then I never went. And then all of a sudden I decided to go probably in 2009 and I did it and I loved it, right? But still, everybody who was there was from all over the world, were very young. I was in my 30s probably at the time, where they were in their 20s, beautiful, just, I was like, no, I can't, and I made great friendships. It is.
Yeah.
And I made great friendships from these people and they were like, you should do it. Like, you're hilarious. Do it. And I didn't. And what happened was my kids came along. So I don't know if I told you, I adopted all 5 of my kids. They're actually from my family, from my sister. Okay. So my sister passed away in 2008 and her daughter got pregnant, and I adopted my first child from her. And then she got into some issues, and she kept getting pregnant, and I kept adopting my kids. So that took a lot of my time. So that happened right after that whole.
Wow.
So I was where I needed to be at the time, where it was safe, right? Which was teaching. And I truly believe that I was on the path that I needed to be to get to where I am now. Now it's a lot longer than I, would have hoped it to be. And it's a different path. It's a different type of acting than what I saw before. But I like where I am right now. And 20-year-old me would not be able to do what 46-year-old me is doing, because I would have not put myself in front of the camera. I would not have put myself into where, sometimes you get these comments and stuff. And at my age, I could care less about what you say in my comment section. But I really don't get a lot of hate, which is good every once in a while. But, 20-year-old me couldn't handle it though. 46-year-old me loves it.
I hear you. My head is exploding right now, because I will tell you, all I ever wanted to be when I was growing up was an actress.
Yeah,
that was it for me. I knew from the time I was 6 or 7 that that's what I wanted to do. My heroes are female comedian actresses. Lucille Ball.
Oh my gosh.
Cal Burnett, Goldie Hawn was, huge when I was growing up. So I was a huge Goldie Hawn fan.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to move to New York. I grew up in Texas. You're in Texas, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm near San Antonio.
Right. And I grew up in El Paso, Texas. So how far from New York can you be? But that's where I wanted to move. And I finally moved in my mid-20s. After, to make a long story short, I made the move in my mid-20s, not having a job, not having a place to live, not having anything. And again, it's one of those instances in which everything worked out. I did prepare for it. I had money saved, and it's like that thing where you step and the net is there. And that's what happened. I didn't have the career success that I would have hoped for, but I learned so much about myself in the process. And because I was in my mid-20s, and because I'm a woman, that means I was old for the industry. And also, I've never felt like I was pretty enough to be, a film actress or whatever. It's a really interesting career to try to wrap your head around. And what I love, and I guess where I'm going with this, is what I love about what you're doing. You said it doesn't look like what you thought it would look like. Right. And what it is that you, like I said, you've created your own universe. And part of it is your age, and part of it is like the timing of the world we live in, where we have access to these tools that we didn't have back then. These powerful cameras in our phone that do video, these platforms that we can put our stuff out to. There are no gatekeepers keeping people, creatives, from doing what they love if they're willing to step in to take charge of it the way you have.
Yeah.
And I'm just so inspired by it.
It always amazes me, right? Like that people will say something like that. Like, I'm inspired by what you're doing, right? Because sometimes it's like, oh man, what am I doing? Like I'm, but then I hear this and I'm like, yeah, I'm on the right path.
Yeah, I think you are. I think you are. Oh my goodness. So I have a little fun idea. I'm gonna expose my shirt again. Well, hey there, darling. All right. I want to do a little skit with you.
Okay.
I'll be Caroline and you Miss Sherry.
Oh my God. Oh my
I'm gonna come in and get naughty with you and tell you I don't want you to have anything to do with my brother, and you can tell me be gone, Harlan. It's like be gone, trollop. All right, are you ready?
Sure.
I'm laughing. You just stay away. By the way, all of Carmen's characters have Texas accents.
Oh, yeah, we sure do. And the funny thing is about that is I'm Hispanic. I don't know if I'm Latina. Both my parents are Mexican. So.
Yeah, and it's hilarious because all of your stuff is like the full-on Texas accent. El Paso is so far away from the rest of Texas, by the way, that I grew up with a little bit of a Texas accent, but not super strong. But I can easily it comes out.
Well, I can hear your accent, that you have a Texas accent. When I'm talking with my friends where I let my professionalism go, people are like, what accent is that? Like, what are you? And I'm like, I am a human being.
Did you grow up in San Antonio? Because we didn't.
I grew up in a town south of San Antonio called Floresville.
Gotcha.
So
is that what your small town is based on?
Yeah, it's based on that town, and
Hilarious.
just growing up there and all the ridiculousness that happened there. So some of my friends will message me and they're like, hey, is this the store that you're talking about? Or if it's about a boy, was it when you were dating this person? Or I even had an old person, not old person, old boyfriend-ish kind of is that our story? Are you going to do a story about us? And I'm like, no.
That's funny. And now there is another side. Now I have one more question I wanted to ask you. Is you've got the Carmen and Billy, and your husband's name's Billy, right?
His name is Billy, and it's not that Billy. So I created what was Gen X Junior High off of the skit that I made from a Three-Way Calling. And this is how both series started. I did a video, and people in the comment section wanted a part 2 and then a part 3. So that's how Gen X Junior High got started. And that's how Small Town Drama got started, was from the comment section of people asking, I need the next part. I need the next part.
Oh, fun.
But I named the character Billy from Gen X Junior High because he used to be Stupid Billy. One day when my husband really ticked me off, and I use that, right, to fuel my videos. And I used the Stupid Billy, and he saw the video. He's like, you're something else. This is when you were mad at me, or I was like, yeah.
There was another, as I was really going through your feed and catching up on all your stuff for research. And there was one thing that you put out that just made me laugh so hard, where you're like, listen, if you put me on conference call and I say something on the conference call, you put me on, don't be, are you that person?
Yeah. Oh, I'm horrible. My husband too, he puts me on speakerphone, and he's also a teacher. And he's
speakerphone, that was it. Yeah.
And he's like, why did you? I said, you know better not to put me on speakerphone. I am not the type of person that can be on speakerphone. My filter is just, I have none. And I'm keeping it under control right now. But
you don't have to.
It's yeah.
Hilarious. Okay, so normally when I say goodbye to guests, it's just goodbye and thank you. We're going to do a little different today because I'm inspired. We're going to have a be gone kind of dramatic exit.
Gotcha.
If you're willing.
I'm willing. All right.
All right.
I'm so nervous.
Me too. All right. Listen, Miss Sherry, you just stay away from my brother Billy.
Oh, I think you mean Bobby. You don't even know your own brother's name.
Bobby.
I will stay with Bobby as long as I want. And you need to worry about your own marriage.
Well, I've never heard such a thing, you trollop.
Be gone now, you filthy trollop, and stay away from my store. And tell your husband Miss Sherry said hi.
Oh my gosh, that was perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This was so much fun.
It was fun. Thank you for making me feel so comfortable. Like I was talking to someone, a friend that I've known for years.
I feel the same way. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, there you have it. And man, did I have fun. I loved talking to Carmen. I really do feel like I made a new friend. Oh, and I've been exploring more of her other videos on TikTok and YouTube since I spoke with her. And I have to say, I think she was on her best behavior for this conversation because that girl can get saucy. If you want to brighten up your social media feed with laughter and nostalgia, I really recommend that you follow Carmen on TikTok, YouTube, or Instagram. I'll have links in the show notes to all the things. You can just go to latebloomerliving.com/podcast and look for episode 121. And if you are feeling the extra stress of the holidays and it's bringing up feelings of being stuck in a rut, I want to share a gift with you. I created a free guide designed to help you shake things up. It's a workbook called 5 Steps to Your Midlife Reboot, and you will find the link to sign up for that in the show notes as well. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you have a fantastic week. Stay safe and well. Talk soon.